Good evening. I am coming to you from SUNY Erie Automotive Technology Department. It is January 19th. It's a little chilly outside, 36 degrees, but we're having a little bit of a warm up here now. We had some below zero temps this and last week, and I have a vehicle here with a check engine light on. It is a 2011 Chevrolet Silverado with a 5.3 liter. And we scanned it for codes. The light initially came on, coming up to a stop sign. Engine was warm. Check engine light came on. No noticeable difference in how the truck performed. Idle's okay. Has good performance otherwise. We scanned it for codes, and it has a DTC in the ECM P0446 symptom 00. Evap vent system performance. So we could possibly have something going on with our evap vent solenoid. It's failed current. It requested the light, the mill. It has had past and filled history by our DTC data here. And we are going to look real fast at some of the data that we have. We're in Evap data right now in our Tech 2. Tech 2 is a GM factory scan tool. It's now offered on a laptop, but this is the old handheld version. If you look up at the top of the screen, it says Evap vent solenoid command venting. So just keep that in mind as we discuss this a little bit. It is venting right now, so that vent solenoid should be open, allowing the gas tank to be venting. If you look down a little bit, evap vent solenoid circuit, short, open, everything looks okay there. Purge solenoid, this is very important, is at 0%. So the evap vent solenoid is venting, and the purge is at 0%. So that means the engine is not applying any vacuum to the gas tank whatsoever right now. It shouldn't be. So keep that in mind right now. Fuel tank level is about 26%. It's a 26-gallon tank. So that means it's around a quarter of a tank right now, 26%. And one thing that really sticks out, I'll highlight it here, is the fuel tank pressure sensor. It's almost 16 inches of vacuum, minus 15.8 inches H2O. So it's under a pretty good amount of vacuum right now, especially if you remember our vent solenoid is venting. Purge solenoid is not being commanded. It's at 0% pulse width right now. So if that's truly the case, it's at 16 inches of vacuum, we may very well have one of two things going on here. It's a possibility we have an obstruction where our vent solenoid cannot vent. That's a possibility. Some makes and models, you'll actually see spiders build nests inside of those vent solenoid fresh air intakes, you might want to call them, or tube. And that hose will have spiders in it, and the spider webs, believe it or not, make it so the vent solenoid can't vent. I find it a little odd, though, because we've been sitting here talking about this for a couple of minutes now, and it's still at 15.82, minus 15.82 inches of vacuum. So I find that odd. If it were an obstruction, I would think we would see some loss in vacuum by now, sitting here talking about it. If we look down right below that, 4.7 volts, that means that fuel tank pressure sensor is almost totally at its maximum voltage of 5 volts. Engine speed, we're at an idle. Nothing else real important here that we have to see on this scan tool right now. One thing that I will tell you, I did back out of this data screen and I looked at the engine output controls screen, and I went into evap system and I tried to command the evap system purge seal. I tried to command vacuum to it, and it bumped me out because the vacuum was already too excessive. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. I couldn't really do any testing with that as far as that goes. One thing that we could do really fast and easily, and we'll get out of the truck here in a second and check it out, we're going to take the gas cap off. So if we remove the gas cap and we hear a rushing of air, or we look at our scan tool and that 15.82, minus 15.82, changes pretty significantly, I would say we have an obstruction. If we take that gas cap off and we have no change, that's a different story. We might have something else going on here. So both things are kind of common, and we'll talk about what the second thing could be in a second here. I'll get out of the truck and we'll see if that sensor reading changes at all.